Ba-do-ba-do-ba-do. Frankie from Flatbush reporting from Frankie from Flatbush headquarters on the free agency signings. Yeah, we got some grades from Yahoo Sports, and so it's time to take a look at how they feel about all these free agent signings. You've heard from me on X and and on this channel about how I feel about it so far. Now, keep in mind, as I said in previous videos, it's March 14th, 2025, so all opinions expressed are as of this date at this time, 14:35 hours on the East Coast. And before we take a look at this, I'll also remind you to please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers, and we got a long way to go. So if you could help us out there, we'd appreciate it. Otherwise, give a like on the video and think about joining, clicking the join button. That allows you to join up for the inner circle, which allows you to then get exclusive things that nobody else gets except the members of the inner circle. So consider that. And let's now go to these people that call themselves Yahoo Sports. There it is. 2025 NFL free agency signings and grades for all 32 teams. We'll focus more on the AFC East. But we'll scroll through. Arizona Cardinals get a B. I think they're going to be competing this year. They really need to with JG and old Monty Asen Ford, whatever his name is, as the GM. Right? It's time for them to compete. Now they're getting some guys, Baron Browning, Josh Sweat, and they should really be able to compete. They got a good backup quarterback in Brissett. They retained Zay Jones. They retained L.J. Collier. They picked up Dalvin Tomlinson. Big contract. That's probably what prevented the Jets from doing this. Is a guy I was interested in for us, but it's time for the Cardinals to compete now. They got to make the playoffs, I would say. Otherwise, JG is in trouble, in my opinion. Falcons got a D. Even though they got Divine Diablo, they still got a D. Baltimore Ravens a C. Now, some of these teams are going to be graded on a curve. Like the Ravens don't have too many moves to make. I mean, they got back Ronnie Stanley. That was the biggest thing they could do. They retained Patrick Ricard, who's a big part of what they do. And they added D Hop, who's really a really nice addition to go with LJ. I think he'll really help him out, even though he's not going to get a ton of catches. He's going to get you clutch catches when you need them. And so I think they need that. So you give them a C because they didn't do much here, but the team's already so good that what do they really need to do? And it's the same thing with these Buffalo Bills, right? They're saying, well, Josh Palmer's never shown that he can be an impact player. The kid's 25 years old. I mean, they retained some of their own. They got Rousseau back. They restructured Josh Allen and extended him out, which is, of course, you have to do. And they retained Khalil Shakir. They retained Terrell Bernard. These retentions are important also. They signed Michael Hecht. That's an underrated signing right there. Maybe make this a little bigger. Um, Michael Hecht, I was hoping maybe the Jets could get involved with him. 3 years, $24 million. Too rich for our blood, I guess. Old friend Ty Johnson, he just keeps on keeping on, and he's a really good player for $2.5 million a year. They're taking a little bit of a gamble with Joey Bosa, but if you're the Bills, it's a perfectly sensible thing to do to risk $12.5 million on Joey Bosa because the 9, 10 games he gives you, might make an impact in those games. You hope he can play a full season, but as we all know, he has an injury history. Larry Ogunjobi, that's an underrated signing in my opinion. So to me, when you take the curve out of it, I mean, they gave him a C. This is pretty harsh grading, if I must say so. But considering what team they had already, and then you add in some of these moves, I mean, the Bills are, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. There's just no doubt about it. Panthers get a B. They got Trayvon Mooring, a good young safety there. Patrick Jones, an ascending edge player. They retained Austin Corbett. All right, nothing else. Oh, Rico Dowdle, maybe you could get a little excited for. All right, the Bears get an A. Now, they spent a lot of money here redoing their offensive line. I guess we're going to talk about all these teams, not necessarily just the AFC East as I thought originally. But if you look at the Bears, they basically redid their entire interior offensive line. Trades: Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, Drew Dahlman. So they include trades here, which I like because it's essentially the same thing as a free agent signing, except you're giving something up to get it. Deo Ode Bingo Bingo Bongo Deo got some money. Grady Jarrett got some money. I mean, this team now. What excuse are the Bears going to have now? I mean, please tell me. The Bears have to be good next year. Caleb, let's go. We got you an offensive line now. We got a defense now. I mean, what more do you need? We got receivers. We got tight ends. They even signed another one, Durham Smythe. Okay, they got Cole Kmet. What else does Caleb need to succeed now? They got the play caller now, Ben Johnson. Okay, the play caller, the pass catchers, the protection, the three P's you need before you can evaluate a quarterback. Okay, so the Bears better be good this year, and Caleb better be good. Otherwise, you got no excuses, in my opinion. Cincinnati Bengals incomplete. All right, we'll see what they got to do. What they're going to do. The Browns get a C. They made a sort of a strange trade for Kenny Pickett. They picked up an underwhelming edge player in Shoyinka, but then they picked up Malik Collins. That was another guy I thought the Jets could sign. $10 million a year. I mean, come on. We're picking up bums left and right. The Dallas Cowboys D minus haven't really done much. Picked up old friend Solomon Thomas. They overpaid for him, but he's a good guy. Denver Broncos get a B. I would probably give them an A. I think this squad, considering what they already have, they added Hufanga, Greenlaw, and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is going to be the Joker. Evan Ingram, this is a huge signing. I don't know if people really understand, but this is going to be Peyton's Joker player. In his offense, he's got a Joker. That just means a guy who moves all around. He's sometimes in the backfield, sometimes he's in line, sometimes he's out. He calls him a Joker. But it just means that a versatile player who can do multiple things. That's Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's a tight end that plays like a wide receiver, and because he has that speed, you can put him in the backfield, and that's what he's going to do. And he causes all sorts of matchup problems. So I think that's going to be a much bigger signing than people understand currently. It's going to take their offense to the next level. And then they re-signed DJ Jones. That's a run-stuffing defensive tackle. They added a hard-hitting safety and a hard-hitting linebacker, both out of San Francisco. I mean, that's an A for me, but they don't think so. Detroit Lions gets a C, even though I think this is really good. Now, they signed DJ Reed away from us. Some of these other players, but not on here is Levi Awanzaruke. He should be back on there. For some reason, he's missing. So that's another player they re-signed, and they also re-signed Tim Patrick. So they re-signed a good number of their own players. Packers get a C minus. Okay, the big one was Banks. They never spend a bunch in free agency. Some reason they have Josh Myers here. That's incorrect. He's signed with us, of course. Houston Texans get a big fat F. And this is because who knows what's going on with that offensive line. We got to see what happens with the offensive line, but signing Laken Tomlinson is not a good idea. Signing some of these players are okay, but what they're doing with the offensive line, they sent away a bunch of players, including their stud left tackle, Tunsil, and they haven't really replaced them with really good people. So I'm not sure what they're trying to do to CJ Stroud over there. Indianapolis Colts gets a D plus. Not really much here except for Danny Dimes, of course, to compete with AR. So that's the big news in Indy. Jacksonville gets a B. Patrick McCarry, that's a guy I was interested in for us. Dami Brown, $10 million. We could have had him for more. Obviously, we would have had to outbid them, but if we gave him 2 years, $25 million, maybe he would have come. But maybe that was too rich for our blood, I guess. Old friend Chuma Edoga, that's a Jet draft pick. He got signed for 2 years, $7 million. The Chiefs get an A minus. They don't really need to add much. I'm not sure why they're getting an A minus. I mean, they re-signed Hollywood Brown. I mean, they're bringing back a lot of the guys. Trey Smith is the big decision that they made. They sent away Joe Tooney, so we'll have to see how this offensive line plays without Tooney and with what they're going to do at tackle. They signed Jalen Moore, so they think Jalen Moore can step up. We'll have to see. That could be the thing that sinks them. Probably the only thing. Las Vegas Raiders get a B. Adam Butler, he's someone I was interested in for us. Jeremy Chin, I wanted as well. Didn't get him. Chargers get a D. Rams get a B. Mostly because of the Devontae Adams signing. And Puna Ford is also pretty darn good run stuffer. The Dolphins get a C minus, even though they signed James Daniels. They also re-signed Eichenberg recently. That's not great, but they signed Borum. They signed Daniels. Their task in the offseason for the Dolphins was remake the offensive line and get a backup quarterback. They decided on Zach Wilson. We all are familiar with Zach. Tons of potential. Let's see if he can put it together. Maybe he's figured it out by now. Uh, because he's probably going to play because Tua misses games. I think he's had only one full season where he hasn't missed games, if we're just going off memory. Now, Westbrook Akine is a guy that I'm shocked that we couldn't beat this offer and that we didn't want this guy on our team, NWI. He's a good receiver, but even better, he's an excellent blocker. What we're going to need, and maybe the plan is to keep Alan Lazard. I hate to break it to you, because what we're going to need with this offense, and we'll talk about this more when we get over to the Jets, is we're going to need wide receivers to insert into the C gap when we're running duo. So, I mean, NWI does that as good as anybody. Now, Alan Lazard also does that well. So now the Minnesota Vikings get an A. They really do need to compete, and it seems like they're going to be relying on J.J. McCarthy to do so. So they're trying to surround him with the best possible everything that they can get. Byron Murphy, good cornerback. They signed a safety, but mostly they redid their offensive line. Will French fries, Ryan Kelly. Okay, now you already had the tackles, so you really just needed to work on the interior, so they did so. And they really helped their defensive line with Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Harry Smith comes back. And so, you know, uh, yeah, they really everything hinges upon J.J. McCarthy. Now the Patriots get an A minus. They had the most money in the league. They were going to spend it. Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, and Robert Spillane and Morgan Moses. These five are the big names. Everything else is kind of minor. Matt Collins is a good glue guy, a very interesting personality, great in the locker room. Same thing with Moses. Um, but mostly Milton Williams, game wrecker. Carlton Davis, a good cornerback. Harold Landry, I think they overspent on. I don't think he's going to be worth this much money. Spillane's a good up and coming linebacker. And then Morg, who's, average to above average and a great locker room guy. And the rest of these guys are not really impact players, but those five they spent a lot of money on. Saints get an F. How long is Justin Reed? Not Justin Reed. How long is Tyrann Mathieu going to play for? We don't know. It seems like he's 100 million years old. Dante Pettis gets chance after chance. The Giants get a D. Darius Slayton re-up there. There's a guy I had some interest in. He got 12 million a year. That was probably, I guess, too rich for our blood, I guess. But they also got Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland, and so they're remaking the defensive backfield, and so that's pretty good. Roy Robertson Harris to go with the ones they already have there. The defensive line's looking pretty good. If the offensive, well, then we don't know what's going on with quarterback with them. We get a D. Here's us. And Jamian Sherwood was good, excellent. Then we signed RFA Tony Adams, logical. Then we signed Justin Fields, and that was the big splash that we made. Also, Brandon Stevens as a cornerback, 3 years, 36 million, 24 guaranteed. So that's extremely questionable. Andre Cisco seems like he's going to be our center fielder, ball hawking center fielder when we're in cover one man. Josh Myers is our backup center and guard. Zay Oliver. Now, Chooks Okafor, Rashad Weaver, and the defensive tackles we just signed, Jay Tufele and Byron Cowart, are very bad. Rashad Weaver hasn't done anything in the league for 3 years. Chuk Okafor played 12 snaps last year and quit on his team, and we decided that's a good signing. Now, the way to make this good would be, all right, we signed Justin Fields, so we're going to run a certain type of offense. To run the type of offense you need, what do you need? You need a great offensive line, you need blocking tight ends, and you need wide receivers to insert into C gaps, B gaps, insert into your blocking scheme when you're running duo and other things. And so we haven't seen that yet. So this grade could improve a lot if we start seeing some blocking tight ends being signed, if we see a good right tackle signed, which you could also get in the draft. Maybe that's what they're thinking with the 7th pick. But you also then need blocking wide receivers as well. There's got to be a lot of blocking going on if you're going to make the most out of Justin Fields and try to win with him. So right now it's a D. For me right now it'd be a D minus or maybe an F plus, but you can make this a lot better if in subsequent days, and blocking people, whether they be tight ends. Well, offensive tackle is expensive no matter what. So maybe that's for the draft. But Blocking tight ends, blocking wide receivers, they don't cost that much. You saw what Nick Westbrook went for. It's not much. And you need them if that's the type of offense you're going to run. So, and you expect to be competitive. Otherwise, it's just a tank, and we're tanking for whatever young quarterback we're going to try to get. Eagles get a D. Steelers incomplete, even though they picked up DK Metcalf. Of course, that was the big one, but the quarterback is still TBD. 49ers get an F. They seem to be rebuilding there, it seems like. They signed old friend Jason Pinnock. Seattle Seahawks get a C. The Buccaneers get a B. It looks like the Buccaneers are going to be competitive again, right at the top of that division. Tennessee gets a D plus. Seemed like they were spending a lot of money. And look at all these guys they signed. They signed Sebastian Joseph Day, Dan Moore. Yeah, they probably overpaid for him, but a good tackle is hard to find. But Draymond Jones, a good defensive lineman. So forth and so on. I don't know. They gave him a D plus. If Dan Moore helps the offensive line, then the grade goes, well, of course he's going to help the offensive line. It's a lot of money to pay for him, yeah, but he's, better above average. Washington Commanders get an A minus. They acquired Debo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, so they're trading their way. They're in their window now. They gave way too much money to Javon Kinlaw, but so what? They're in their window now. They got to go for it. They got the young quarterback on the rookie deal, so they got to put all their chips on the table. So they're spending a lot of money. Jonathan Jones, Dedrick Wise, a backup quarterback, you name it. They're spending money to get it. They retained John Bates. That's another guy I was hoping we might get, but we did not. So there you go. That's how everybody did in the free agency grades as far as Yahoo Sports is concerned. Like I said, for the Jets right now, for me, it's like an F plus. But if you give the types of players going forward that Justin Fields needs, whether in free agency or in the draft or UDFAs or trades, then the grade can go up significantly. But as of right now, it's not looking so hot. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you next time.
Non-pertinent. How do you log that non-pertinent?
No drug talk?
They use codes to hide their patron phone numbers. And when someone does use a phone, they don't use names. And if someone does use a name, he's reminded not to. All of that is valuable evidence.
Of what?
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy?
We're building something here, Detective. We're building it from scratch. All the pieces matter.